Ridgecrest students, we are live today for our CG Live. Welcome today to today's video as we think about our connection group time. This would be when we would be meeting in rooms talking about our connection group lesson. But obviously today we're not doing that. But good news, April the 11th is coming. And on that Sunday morning, we will be back here for connection groups at our normal 9:45 hours. So I'd love for you guys to go ahead and be making plans to be a part of that Sunday with us here at Ridgecrest. Hey, I hope your week has been good. And as we begin CG Live today, here's what I want you to think about. A question to propel us into a conversation about Jesus healing a woman and raising a girl. What's the most amazing thing that you feel like you've ever seen? Think about it for a second. Most amazing thing. Maybe it was a sports play. Maybe it was just an amazing landmark of some sort. Maybe it was something that you just had an opportunity to experience, you and your family, things like that. What's the most amazing thing that you have ever seen? Lee and I were blessed with the opportunity to go on a trip right after our 1-year anniversary of being married. And that trip took us to a place that I will never forget the beauty of God's creation in that context. You know, this location was one that really is one of those things where you just stand and you stop and you're just amazed because of just the vast beauty of the creation of God. And as you and I think about that amazement, really it's nothing compared to the amazing thought of God at work in doing specific things in our lives. And in our story today, we see in Mark chapter 5, verses 21 through 43, in a lesson that's entitled, Jesus Heals a Woman and Raises a Girl, we see an amazing feat of what God can do, an amazing miracle of what Jesus did in this context. And here's the main point for you and I, as we think about all the amazing things that we can see. The main point for you and I to grasp and understand today is this. Jesus calls us to have faith in his ability to heal both the physical and spiritual. We have the opportunity to have that faith, to know that our God can and our God will heal the physical and the spiritual. Now here's the deal. His healing and his working is not always the way we want it to happen or we think it should happen. His healing and his working is centered in his will and his plan and his purpose. So let's look for just a second at some of these verses from Mark chapter 5 as we think today about Jesus calling us to have this faith in his ability. It says this in verse 21 of Mark 5. When Jesus had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the sea. One of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, "My little daughter is dying. Come and lay your hands on her so that she can get well and live." So Jesus went with him, and a large crowd was following and pressing against him. Now a woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years had endured much under many doctors. She had spent everything she had and was not helped at all. On the contrary, she became worse. Having heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his clothing. For she said, "If I just touch his clothes, I'll be made well." Instantly, her flow of blood ceased, and she sensed in her body that she was healed from her afflictions. At once, Jesus realized in himself that power had gone out from him, and he turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said, "You see the crowd pressing against you, yet you say, 'Who?'" Knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. "Daughter," he spoke to her, "your faith has saved you." I love these two amazing miracles because it shows some specific thoughts about you and I having the same faith that both Jairus had and this woman. And here's a few things just to process today in today's lesson to be reminded of. The first is this: we all need a desperation for Jesus to move. I love the story of this father. As he comes to Jesus, he begs Jesus. He gets down on his knees and says, Jesus, my daughter is dying. Will you please save her? Desperation for him to move. The woman in the story here said, if I could just touch his garment, just the clothes of Jesus, if I could just touch that, he would move. So desperation. You know, a lot of times in my own personal life, it's easy for me just to expect God to move, but not desperately desire it and ask for him to move. Think about this question. Has desperation ever led you to Jesus? What was going on during that time? A lot of times when we put ourselves in desperate moments, we seek Jesus with greater intensity. But may we have that same desire and desperation every single day. Number two, belief. We all not only need a desperation for Jesus to move, we need a belief for Jesus to move. You see in this story that these two characters believed that Jesus could change the context that they were in. And I want to tell you good news today for all of us. Jesus can change the context that we're in. Again, as long as it falls in line with his plan and his purpose for our lives. So we have a desperation for Jesus to move. We have a belief for Jesus to move. And then lastly, number three, there's an opportunity for you and I to respond to Jesus moving. If we keep reading in the story, it says this: immediately the girl got up and began to walk. She was 12 years old, and as they at this, they were uttered astounded. Then he gave them strict orders that no one should know about this and told them to give her something to eat. So there was a response here. And when Jesus moves, it always gives us an opportunity to respond. Ultimately, you and I have the heart to be obedient, to say, whatever it is, God, you're calling me to do, my heart's to do it. There's also a response in obedience to praise Jesus, to say, God, you were so good. You were so mighty. Thank you for moving the way that you've moved in my life. And so your response to Jesus' moving, I believe in a lot of ways, again, gives you a testimony, gives you a hope, gives you a light to make a difference in a dark and dying world. You know, when we think about this again, Jesus calls us to have this faith. And this faith looks like being desperate, believing, and responding to Jesus as he moves. But it all is centered in our, again, faith in Christ. And for just a quick second, listen closely to this definition of faith. Biblical faith is the resting or trusting in Christ alone for salvation and for life. So it's resting and trusting in Christ. If you and I want to have this desperation and belief, it's us stopping all that we're trying to do and simply rest in him. So can I tell you today to hold on to the power of God, to trust in Jesus, be desperate for him, believe in him to move, and then again respond. Thanks for checking out CG Live today. We love you guys. We're so excited for what God is doing in our student ministry. It's such a blessing just to be a part of, to step back and just know that he's at work. We just do reminders today for us on this Sunday, the 14th of March this afternoon. There'll be no rad activities because our church will have picnics from 2:30 to 4:30. This Wednesday, we're back in the gym for worship from 6 to 7:30 for student ministries. Continue talking about the series Take a Stand, specifically looking at abortion. And then also this coming weekend's our Identity Weekend, Friday and Saturday. Looking forward to that with great anticipation for God to move and speak in a mighty way. And then we have something that we're really excited about for the summer that we announced this past week, Reach Dothan. Make plans to mark your calendar. Check out social media, one of our recent posts on Instagram, and you can see all of those details. But again, we love you guys. Thanks for checking this video out. And as always on YouTube, love for you to share and like the video and comment and help other people experience what God's doing through our channel and through the different videos. For our goal is we to engage with people as we think about reaching, building, and connecting. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. We'll see you soon.